Good morning. Thanks for joining me on the Morning Mindset edition of the Live, Build, Change podcast. I'm so thankful you're here. In fact, I'm proud that you're here, not in a self-centered way, but I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you're taking steps to keep your mind on track day to day as you go through life, because we all know that as we sleep at night, it's a great blessing God's given us, but part of the struggle when we wake up is we can wake up with our mind all over the place. We're not still focused in a intentional way toward the things of God. And so it's important that first thing in the morning, we at least do some small thing to get our mind on track, to remind ourselves who our God is and who we are. And that's why the Morning Mindset exists, is to help you do that. We've been doing it most recently by looking at the life of Moses, primarily in the book of Exodus. And we're at a very interesting place here where Moses has just begun his journey into Egypt to help the people of Israel and to be their deliverer, so to speak, the one who confronts Pharaoh. And that situation alone is more intimidating than we often give it credit for. We don't think it through in terms of what this was really like. Moses was an 80-year-old man who had run from Egypt. He was in fear of his life because of some things he had done while he was there. And though God tells him that the people who sought his life have died and are no longer seeking him, can you imagine the emotional struggle it must have been for Moses still to go back to Egypt and to go toe-to-toe with Pharaoh, the leader of the most mighty nation in the earth at that time? It must have been an incredible struggle. And we find in Exodus chapter 6, beginning in verse 6, God is speaking to Moses, and he says, "Therefore say to the Israelites, I am the Lord." And that word Lord is in all caps, so it means God is using his proper name. I am the I am. And I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from being slaves to them, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with mighty acts of judgment. I will take you as my own people, and I will be your God. Then you will know that I am the Lord, the I am, your God, who brought you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. And I will bring you to the land I swore with uplifted hand to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to you as a possession. I am the Lord, or I am the I am. I read this passage to you because it is the promise of God to his people at that juncture in their history. And it came through this man, Moses. Now, I wonder what effect this promise had on Moses himself, that he repeatedly heard, both from God directly and through his own lips, the reiteration of God's commitment to his people. Moses continually heard it. He had the challenge of convincing himself that it was true, not just because God had said it, but because in his own heart of hearts, he needed to believe it. And I wonder, what are the things God has said to you, about you, that you struggle to believe? Things like you are dearly loved. You are more than a conqueror through him who loves you. That you are adequate and accepted in God's sight because of what Jesus has done. We struggle with those things, and waking up first thing in the morning, sometimes the old patterns of thinking about ourselves come into play immediately because they are just so ingrained both in our emotional makeup and in our physiology, because the brain becomes used to thinking along certain lines. And I want to encourage you today, as you look at the promise of God to the Israelites, remember, he has made promises to you today. He has made statements of truth to you today that you have to fight to believe. And so today, take the time to remind yourself, take the time to understand what God has said about you. And tomorrow, we're going to dig in more to God's word to his people in the book of Exodus on the Morning Mindset edition.